again, all my wig friends. I'm Nikki and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a Let's Chat video where I will be discussing all the important details of a wig review. If any of you have seen my previous reviews, you know that I have my own little set routine of things. That's just because I want to make sure that I don't leave out any important information. Especially if it's a wig you're on the fence about getting, you need to know everything about it. So today's video, I'm basically going to tell you all the things that I point out in my reviews and why. So that way hopefully you'll have a better understanding of why I do my wig reviews the way that I do. So rather than just procrastinating any longer, let's get into it. All right, well, just so you know, this is not in any particular order, but these are all the important things that I think are important for you to know about. And one of those things is the luster. I know if you're familiar with my channel, you know I'm big with the luster, but it's for a good reason that I find it important. When I'm wearing a wig, I want it to look better than my own real hair. So I want it to look healthy. I want it to look nice. So when I'm looking at the luster, I want to make sure it's not dull because some colors can make it look more dull. And I don't want it to be overly shiny and blinding either, since that's a dead giveaway. It's a wig. Unless you want it for Halloween, of course. Then it doesn't really matter as much. But I still want to point it out. So I'm basically looking for that right amount of balance to make sure that it looks nice, healthy, and realistic. I do, of course, talk about the color, even if it is one that I have reviewed in a different style before, since I know not everybody has seen all my previous reviews. And this is one of the times I get up closer to the camera so you can get a really good look at it. Is it vibrant? Are the colors blended well? Do they complement one another with the contrast? Is the root right, you know, with the color? Does it go throughout or not? Does it blend down nicely into the main color, or is it a little too harsh? I'm looking for these sorts of things. So that way you can see if it's a color it's going to complement you or not too by getting up closer. So that's why I get into a little detail with the color. I do also talk about the texture. I know that a lot of people find this very important. Some people want certain textures, others want to avoid certain ones. So what I do is I tell you what I think the texture is, at least it's to the best of my ability, and then I give you a little bit of information about that too by mentioning if it's soft and does it feel realistic. Because I usually always review synthetic wigs, so you don't want it to feel like doll hair or plasticky in any way. So I want it to actually feel and look like real hair. So that's why I talk a little bit about the texture. I do get into the length, and I know that this is the most challenging part of all. I have been wrong before. I've gone back at some of my previous reviews and noticed I was way off with the length. It's a little embarrassing, but I don't have a tape measure or a ruler, so I'm doing a guesstimate here. But thankfully, some wigs are nice enough to tell you the length on the stock card, so I can use that as a reference point and kind of go from there. But length is important to a lot of people because they need certain lengths for their jobs and for manageability. You don't want a really long wig. Sometimes that's going to be hard to brush through. And also for your face shape. That's why length is important. So I get into that a little bit, and that kind of goes along with the density as well, especially if there are layers involved. How was that balance of the density? Do they match appropriately? You don't want a wig that has too much or too little. For example, the wig that I'm wearing right now, if it has too much density, it will look exactly like a helmet. And that is for the football field, not for my wigs. So I'm looking for a realistic density for the style. And with the density, that can definitely cause a lot of problems because if it's too little also, these are wigs after all, they have wefts and tracks. You'd be able to see them. So that's why I do mention the density. I do talk about the shedding and the tangling. These are wigs. They're going to shed, they're going to tangle, but is it excessive? That's pretty much what I'm looking for with that. And with the tangling, that can also really cause a lot of problems. It can take away the life of the wig, because when you're getting those tangles out, it will cause fraying, and then it'll get frizzy, and then look also like you have split ends, which of course doesn't look like healthy hair and defeats the whole purpose. So you don't want that, and especially if it's one you spend a lot of money on. So with the tangling, also, if it's one you want to wear to work, you don't want to have to deal with it looking really messy and having to go into the bathroom and fix it all the time. So what I am looking for is, can I get my brush, fingers, or comb through it without any problem? And if I do hit any tangles, do they come out really easily? With the shedding, for example, I have pets, and I know to avoid certain colors and certain fabrics because that pet hair is going to show up. The last thing I expect to see is a bunch of wig hair on my clothing. So I don't want that, because then everybody will know you're wearing a wig, or you're very sick. So you don't want that problem. And with that too, with shedding, it can get all over the floor and then get tangled into your vacuum cleaner, ruin it even. So you don't want a lot of shedding either. I do get up close to the camera again when I am showing you, talking about the parting space and the hairline. Parting space, obviously the depth and width is important, because it needs to be looking realistic. If you part your own hair, you know it can only go so far. So you want to make sure that it's appropriate. Sometimes certain styles, it can make more sense to have a more narrow parting space, but is it appropriate? And I don't know about anybody else, but I hate having to pluck a parting space. It's a pain in the butt. I'm afraid that I'm going to mess it up. So I basically want to make sure that there was no plucking needed. And if there was, I'll tell you how much and where, or if it needs to be done if I didn't do it myself. Also, with the parting space, you can see if there's any line of demarcation. If there was a line of demarcation, I was able to conceal it. I will mention that as well. And I want to make sure that the blending can be done very well too, that it looks like it's growing from your head. Also, to make sure that it is flat, so it all melts together and looks like it's your real hair growing out of there. That is kind of one of the main points to wearing the wig in the first place. So I'm really trying to talk about that and have you take a good look at it. Also, because not all the wigs have the same lace with the shading of it. So I want to make sure that regardless of that shade, it was still workable to blend and everything. I do show you the sides as well for a few different reasons. Where it comes out to is one of them, and I know not everybody's head is the same shape as mine, but it's a reference point. That way you can also see if your own hair is going to blend with it, and if it's too thick. Of course, again, some styles, it doesn't really matter, it covers that up. But if you want a style that you can kind of play up with a little bit like that or something, you want to make sure that those sides are going to be workable for that. And if you have to do any extra plucking or whatnot with it. Also, you want to see if there's any lift up, because if there is a lot of lift up, you might have to glue it down then. So those are the things I'm looking for and talking about with those issues. I do talk about the comfort level, and I do also show you the stretchability of the wig cap in the intro, so that way you can get a good idea if it's larger head friendly or not. So I want you to know if there's a lot of wiggle room or if it's too tight, if those combs are jabbing into my side of my head and causing a lot of pain. That way that they're placed correctly. Does it itch a lot? That's what I'm looking for with comfort. And I admit, I usually save the comfort for last, unless I'm having problems with it. Then, of course, I'll mention it a whole lot sooner in the review. I do talk about in the intro as well a couple other things. I mention if the wig is heat resistant. I feel that's important too. Most wigs usually are heat resistant nowadays. Some, however, won't tell you what temperature. Won't mention who. But as long as they tell you something, It's better than nothing. And some people like to use a curling iron or a flat iron. Me, I use a curling wand, and I use that along the parting space and the crown of the head to flatten out any bumps. So I know that's why heat resistance is very important to a lot of people, so I will point that out. I will tell you also in the intro where I purchased the wig and how much I paid for it. Of course, you can usually get that same wig somewhere else at a different price. It's again a reference point, so you have an idea of what to expect if you want to buy it, how much it's going to cost you. So that's why I basically go over those things. But I feel that all those particular things, all wrapped into one, make a good wig review. I know if I'm watching one, I want to know those types of things. So that's why I bring it to your attention. So that way you know it all. And if you feel, though, that there's something else that's important that I should be talking about, let me know. It's what the comment section's for all about anyway. So let me know. I'll start incorporating that as well. But I hope that this is informative to you and is more understanding as to why my routine is the way it is, that I always point out certain things. But of course, I talk about other things too with it if I notice it, but I try never to forget those things. So I hope you will also give me a thumbs up, like this video, and if you haven't yet subscribed, you're going to be missing out on all the videos I've got coming. I have more wig reviews, some makeup stuff, also some more Let's Chat videos, and I upload them every Monday, Thursday, and Fridays. So you need to join the party and click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And of course, if you are a subscriber of mine, thank you so very, very much. I really do appreciate you. But that's really all I wanted to talk about today. Thank you so much again for watching. I guess I'll just see you in the next video. And until then, bye-bye.